Oh, okay. So this is Sergeant Small?
Staff Sergeant Small, yes.
Okay, hi. It's Miss Persaud calling. How are you?
Miss Persaud, I'm well. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. I guess, were you the sergeant that was there yesterday when I was at your station?
I did not speak to you yesterday.
Yeah, I know, but there was a sergeant that was there when I was, interacting with, Officer Panday as well as, it's Guilfoy.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just a little concerned because, I came in to, report, the sexual abuse that I've been experiencing. Mm-hmm. And instead of being, empathetic, I felt like I was being attacked, In particular, Officer Panday was very abusive. Like it was just, I couldn't believe actually. Is that how you guys are treating women when they come in to report these things?
Ms. Persaud, I think if we're being fair, you would agree with me that I'm not aware of what happened yesterday, so I can't really say people are treated a certain way. I'm here to listen to your concerns, and I'll do what I can to address them. But you asking me if we treat people poorly, that's not really fair. Do you know what I mean? Well,
it's from my experience of when I was there yesterday, and there was a sergeant there yesterday. When I asked to speak to him, I don't know if that's you.
No, I wasn't here yesterday. I was actually acting for my boss, so I wasn't downstairs here.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to speak to the sergeant that was here yesterday?
Well, yesterday when I asked to speak to him, because after I was getting poor treatment, right, mm-hmm. They actually refused. And he actually volunteered to speak to me. And then Officer Guilfoy said, oh, no, we don't want you to speak to her. And then he was just kind of lurking around. And then when I said, well, sir, I would like to speak to you, he just completely ignored me, right?
Well, I love to talk to people. I wasn't ignoring anybody yesterday, and I don't ignore anybody, so I know that definitely wasn't myself.
Okay, yeah, the thing is, what I don't understand is when somebody's reporting something like this, you don't invalidate women and you don't, attack them. With Mr. Panday, he just seemed to feel the need to sort of intimidate me, right? And it's just highly inappropriate. I've been through enough. I've been through enough with the situation that I'm having, right? Mm-hmm. And I've come to the police. I actually came in with an email from the Chief Justice of Canada because when I had previously reported this, back in September, the two officers and even the sergeant there, they basically lied to me, blatantly, and they just would not investigate, and they lied about investigating and said they didn't, it went back and forth. So it was suggested to me that, go back into Peel Police because this is, what you've reported is a crime and it should be investigated. So when I came in and I told this, I guess I met with this officer, Aditya Panday, who for some reason didn't want to give out his first name. I don't know why. He just seemed to feel the need to sort of intimidate me, And
when you say he intimidated you, what was he doing that was intimidating to you? Because our area up here, it's videotaped, so we can obviously go back and see this intimidating behavior.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because when I said to them, isn't this whole thing videotaped? They were, going on about, oh, well, that's just for our own use and things like that. And I said, well, no, the public is supposed to be able to get a copy of that as well.
Well, you actually have to make an application through the Freedom of Information. And if that's something you want to do, then you go ahead and do that. I think there's a cost associated to that. But if what you're doing is making a complaint against an officer, then we can obviously go and corroborate what you're saying, or it will refute what you're saying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know what? I'm trying to, all along, I've been trying to be you are actually very reasonable. I'm just and even the sergeant who was there yesterday, he actually volunteered to speak to me, and he seemed like he was pretty reasonable as well. But then I don't know why Officer Guilfoy told him not to speak to me, and then she
I can't answer that. I would only be able to assume or speculate, and at the end of the day, it's not fair to do that for you or me.
Yeah, like, well, what I did is I did actually go over to 22 Division, and I did actually order the tape, right?
Okay, perfect.
So I would like to sort of see it, but like, I'm not, I like, at the end of the day, I'm not here to, reprimand anybody, but the treatment was just so bad. Like, he was downright abusive to me,
Can I ask you to excuse me a moment, please? Mm-hmm. Can someone answer that call, please, on my line? Hi there.
Hi. Yeah, I mean, when women are like, I've actually been getting support from a couple of women's groups, and that's actually one of the things they said. They said the police will re-victimize you, even courts will re-victimize you and stuff. And
I think that's, if I may address what you just said there, I don't think that's an entirely fair or accurate statement to blanket that the police will do that. Do you know what I mean? If we're being totally fair, for someone to suggest you that what we're going to do is re-victimize you, that kind of breaks down the relationship we're trying to build with our community members. Do you know what I mean?
Well, what happened?
I'm just going to ask you to hold a second once again, please. Sorry. I'm actually on the phone. Hi, sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I mean, I know you're a busy guy.
Do you know? No, it's okay. But do you know what I mean?
Well,
like, for us to turn around and say that, well, the police will do this all the time, that's not entirely fair or accurate.
But here's what it is. What I've experienced so far is that. So what
up to this point, would you agree with me?
From
your own words, you said that I've been good with you.
No, but what I'm saying is up until there's actually only 2 officers in the entire time, from the time I initially made my report in September. There's been actually 2 officers. I don't know if I should count the sergeant from yesterday, because initially he seemed like he was trying to help me, and then they shut him down. So I can't really say, and then he just ignored me after that, right?
Okay.
So
I can't speak to that. I don't know any of the specifics. This is the first I'm learning of this.
Yeah, I'm being honest. That's all I'm trying to do, is be honest, right?
And I'm trying to be frank, fair, and honest.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is how I see every situation, any situation, whether it's with police or otherwise, is I look to it with an open mind. But it doesn't mean that I'm not aware of what other women have hands down said. And so what happened is, when I initially reported this in September, that was prior to me getting a lot of the knowledge of how women feel that they've been treated. Okay. And then what happened is, after I reported the initial incident in September, the 2 initial officers, they ignored all my calls and emails for like 4 or 5 months. Then in January, when I came in, and I came in person, because I'm like, nobody's responding to my emails and calls, I may as well go in person, right? So after 4 or 5 months, I finally went in, and I was actually met with a very reasonable, nice officer by the name of Officer White, right? And by the time he heard everything that I said, he wanted to help me. He got on the phone with his supervisor. He said that, you send me confirmation that audios and videos exist of the abuse that you've had, and we will go and we'll act on it, and we'll do a proper investigation, everything. So he would be an officer that I would say he was a very honest, very reasonable guy. And, even there was a cadet there that day. She was also reasonable. Even the records people, when I was ordering records, again, reasonable, right?
Do you have the occurrence from the incident that you reported in September?
So, I do have it.
Would you mind giving that to me so I could look into it and see the status of the investigation?
Sure. So what ended up happening is the sergeant that was dealing with that, and the officers, they both contradicted each other, because one said it was investigated, the other one said, oh, we don't think there's a crime. And then what happened is, they all of a sudden, after 4 or 5 months, only after I provided the information that Officer White had instructed me to do, then all of a sudden, like within a couple of days, they rushed to close the investigation. And every time I've asked, well, what happened? You know, did you guys go out to see the judge or didn't you go out to see the judge? Nobody's, like, up to now, they've left me in the dark. Yesterday when I came in, Officer Pandey confirmed once again that, yes, they did go out to see him, but it seems like it's a secret as to who went out to see him and what transpired. And all I said to Officer Pandey is I said, listen, let's say if somebody socked you in the eye and you reported to the police and the police were supposed to go see the person who socked you in the eye, if they just left you hanging and just kept it in the dark and, you know, kept you in the dark and never told you what's happening with the investigation, would you not be, after 4 or 5 months, and now it's like 6, 7 months, would you not be a little bit upset? I mean, it's reasonable that you would, because you're going, I did nothing wrong. I reported something that happened to me.
What you're telling me, I agree with you 100%.
And
I'd like to look into it more so I could give you a more full and robust response.
And you know what? The funny I'm just going into my thing to get it for you now. But you know, the funny thing is, I'm actually very reasonable, and that's why I've gone in. Like when I went in there with an I didn't come in all upset when I went in January and spoke to Officer White, and that's why. He said he understood right away. He didn't try to do what those two initial officers, all they were doing is trying to invalidate and taking things out of context and all this type of stuff, right? He didn't do any of that. And, you know, people said to me, they said, oh, well, you know, if you're a woman experiencing these kind of difficulties, you should speak to a woman. And I said, no, it doesn't matter if it's a male, woman, anything. All that matters is the person is compassionate because they understand you're going through a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't, like, actually that male officer White, he was more compassionate than any of the women I've been dealing with. It's funny, isn't it?
So again, I say to you then, based on what you're telling me, you've had a positive experience with the police officer. I don't want to assume anything, but I'm assuming your conversation with me would be considered a positive conversation. And what I'm trying to say is, I appreciate you having that open mind and giving us the opportunity to provide you the service that you had.
Yeah.
Officers make mistakes. They're human. I can't speak to any specifics that happened with the negative contact that you had. All I can do is work with you from here and now based on what you're telling me.
Sure.
And hope that I can get something resolved for you. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you know, I appreciate, and that's, you know, I can't tell you how much I appreciate this conversation, because up until now, I've just, like, every time, when I came in yesterday, Officer Pandey was so abused. He actually threatened, maybe I should, lay a charge for, trespassing or something like that. And I'm like, because I'm coming in, and once again, like, I actually showed him an email from the Chief Justice of Canada that says, you know what, we know you reported to police, you go back to the police and tell them to investigate this. And he goes, oh, well, we don't have to listen to the Chief Justice of Canada. He actually said that, okay? So, you know, this is pretty, you can understand why by this point, and again, I've said all along, it's not that I'm saying all police officers, but I'm telling you, the majority of women, in fact, every single woman that I spoke to in the support groups that I've been going to, they all hands down have said the police are not your friend. What they'll do is they'll do, and that was actually, you know, after I had reported it in September, and then everything that happened, I'm like, it's exactly what everybody's saying. This, like, these people are actually treating me like a criminal when I'm coming in to report something.
I'm sorry to hear that that's been your experience, but, you know, I can tell you that based on the conversation you and I are having, this is how I treat people when I speak to them. You're giving me no reason to speak with you in any other way. I want to help you. That's why I joined the police service over 30 years ago, because I want to help people.
Well, we're lucky to have officers like you, I'm telling you.
Well, that's kind of you to say. I appreciate that, but again, I do want to try and help you.
And Officer White was amazing as well. Like, I just, you know, and even yesterday...
Unfortunately, I'm not sure who that officer would be.
All right.
That's not an officer on my platoon, I don't think.
Yeah, no, and the reason because that was 22 Division, and
Okay,
so...
yeah, that makes sense.
And so what happened is I didn't want to deal with them because the sergeant was lying out straight out, and so was the police officer. And if people are going to lie to you like that, and they both of them contradicted each other, right? And I can tell you that because you are allowed to record police officers now, and it's unfortunate because. Like it used to be. I grew up in Canada. I grew up in Ottawa, mind you, and it used.
City.
Yeah, it used to be that if you were let's say if you were lost or you experienced any trouble, you could find if you found a police officer, they would help you. Like they would maybe give you a lift home or like it was just such a different time.
Whether you believe it or not, I can assure you that still goes on to this day.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
It might not have been your recent experience, but I can assure you that positive interactions occur with members of our police service in the community hundreds, if not thousands of times a day across our country. It's unfortunate that the negative incidents are the ones that receive the most publicity, but I can assure you that when we have what we call our morning meetings, they're called parades. When we have our morning parades, at no time are we ever discussing how we're going to go out and be difficult with people or get into conflicts with people. And I know it sounds silly to say that, but I'm telling you that because I want to assure you that we do go out each day with good intentions. And I'm sure you've heard the saying that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but we do try and do our best each and every day.
I
because that's what we do. That's what we get paid to do. Do you have that occurrence number?
I do. I do. The first one from September, it's P as in Peter.
Yes, it is. PR.
Yeah, and it's 2203.
2203.
And then 11. 224.
224.
And yesterday, I think Officer Guilfoy, she did finally, because Officer Pandey was completely refusing, and like I said, his treatment of me was not very nice. And that is actually why people are recording policemen now. It's because of officers like that, right?
Well, we actually have recording devices ourselves.
Yeah, but the problem is, and I'll tell you, because what happened is when the initial two officers came out, their body cam and the body cam was actually edited, right? Oh. So you're not getting even when I went in to see Officer White on January 19th this year, when I said to you like he was just so positive and he just he said he would like really go out of his way to help me and make sure, he got on the phone with the supervisor right away and they said, oh yes, let us send you confirmation that the audios exist and we'll go and get a production order to get it, right? And then what happened is the initial two officers, especially one in particular, they stepped in and they basically blocked him from being, and he even came out to see me and he told me, and I have it on body cam because I have my own body cam now, right?
Oh.
And yeah, so we recorded each other, right? Okay. Yeah, just because the problem is that if you guys are editing videos and audios or whatever, and I actually ordered the body cam from the original.
What I think they call that red acting. And sometimes there's information that's recorded on our body cams that are not relevant to the matter being spoken of in that instance. So they call that red acting, and they will take that information out. Now, Ms. Persaud, I'm begging you to not feel that I'm rushing you off the phone or anything.
No.
But would I be able to look into this occurrence and call you back at this number, or is there a better number to call you?
No, this is the perfect number to call. And I can't, I feel like crying. Like, I can't thank you so much for just being so compassionate. I just can't.
That's my job. And like I said to you, ma'am, my colleagues and I do this every day. So I would ask of you to continue to have an open mind when you deal with officers. I understand you had a negative incident, and it might make you feel that all officers are like that. But like I said, I can assure you that that's not what we do.
But Officer Pandey was threatening me yesterday that maybe I should charge you. Like he was telling me maybe I should charge you with trespassing, right? And I'm like,
I'm sorry that was your experience, but like I said, I do believe that might be your one experience that was like that, and I'm hoping that I can look into this occurrence and give you a status update that satisfies you and then I'll be following up with those officers from yesterday.
All right.
I hope that you find that satisfactory.
Sure. Did you want the occurrence number that Officer Guilfoy also gave me yesterday?
Oh, do you have another number? Absolutely, please.
Yeah, it's PR230.
PR230.
111.
111.
718.
718. Okay, so let me look into this. If I don't speak to you within a short little while, I will speak to you before the end of my day.
Okay, all right, and when would that be, I guess?
My day finishes at 5 o'clock, but I expect to call you back in about 10 or 15 minutes if something else doesn't come across my desk that I have to deal with, okay?
Well, again, I just want to thank you for being you.
You're very welcome, Ms. Persaud. What's your first name?
Oh, my name is Mohini.
Mohini?
Yeah, M-O-H.
M-O-H?
I-N-I.
M-O-H-I-N-I.
Yes, because even when I called just now to speak to you, Officer Guilfoy was giving me the third degree, and I said, I'd rather speak to him because when I went in there, both Officer Guilfoy and Officer Pandey especially, they were not very kind to me yesterday.
If I may say to you, a lot of times, a lot of people do call to the staff sergeant directly. And again, if I'm in another meeting, they will screen the call. It does come off offensive if you want to speak to a supervisor. It's not meant to, but that's something that I need them to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but look how
you can be upset with me for that one. For me today, that's my fault. Okay, but I'm glad I had the opportunity to speak to you, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you after.
But look how yesterday, even the sergeant who was there yesterday, he was actually very reasonable because they wanted me to write down what happened, and I just said I want a copy of it. They were refusing, and he actually came out and he says, just let her get a picture of it or something. Why aren't you giving her a copy of what she's writing, right?
Yeah.
So like I said, I don't feel, at least this unit, I don't feel that you sergeants have, at least even the guy yesterday, I just don't know why he listened to them and ignored me. Right, but
again, unfortunately, I can't speak to that. Okay?
I
can only hope that moving forward, I can give you the service that you're wishing to receive. Okay.
And the only reason when I call in why I'm not, because what I found with the other unit, every time I called for those initial two officers, they would not call me back, and then everybody would tell me send them an email. I send them an email. Then I called back, and this went on for 4 or 5 months before I actually showed up in person. Because
I'm sorry to hear that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, eh?
You're welcome, Mohini. I'll call you shortly, okay?
Okay, God bless.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi.
Hi, it's Staff Sergeant Small calling from Peel Police.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm so sorry to take up your time.
I'm sorry?
I'm so sorry to take up your time.
No bother at all. No bother at all. I told you I'd call you back when I could, and it wasn't as soon as I wanted to, but I'm calling you back now while I have some time.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay. So I looked into that occurrence, that initial one that you were telling me about. And what have you been told so far to date?
Actually, nothing. Yesterday, when I actually spoke to Officer Pandey, he did once again confirm that I guess apparently somebody went out to see the judge. I don't know why the other unit was... Some people were saying they did, some people were saying they didn't. I know when they left here that day, they said that they were going to see him, and then I never heard back from them again. Okay. And yesterday, Officer Pandey told me that, yes, it's confirmed somebody did. And I'm like, so what happened? This is the thing. Why am I being left in the dark?
Okay, well, I'm hoping to shed some light on this for you.
All right.
And in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, based on the fact that you came with a complaint, I'm not sure you're going to be happy with what I have to tell you, but unfortunately that's the position that I'm in, that sometimes I have to be the bearer of news that people don't want to hear. So with that said, the officers, they went and they investigated your complaint, and it says in the occurrence that they advised you that the allegations you had made would not be deemed as criminal offenses, and that there were insufficient grounds to proceed with any further investigation. Do you remember that conversation or no?
No, they actually, number one, when they came out, they were taking my words out of context. I had told, and this is why I'm saying the body cam footage was edited, And I had told them that I was experiencing some memory loss, but even in the body cam footage that they did provide, I clearly told, like, they just seemed to take whatever they want and they twisted it to mean complete. Like, I've never ever used the words that the judge was checking me out. That's their words. So what happened is then when they left here, they said, in fact, one of the officers, I believe it was 4683, called me and said that she will go out to see the judge. So at that time, I said, like, I guess, I don't know if it's a day or two later, I said to her, if you're not going to properly investigate this, meaning getting the audios and videos to prove everything I'm telling you, then there's no point in you going out to see him because he's just going to retaliate. Right? So then I never heard back from them. Okay. And then when I came in January, finally 4 or 5 months later, and I spoke to Officer Ryan White, I didn't even relay as much as I relayed to them. And he right away said, he checked and he goes, there's no report. There's not really any notes. And he actually got on the phone with the officer who I believe, he had told me it was 4606, but I believe it was 4683, to be honest. And then he got on the phone with his supervisor, and they said, if you send us confirmation that these audios and videos exist, then we will do a production order, and we will go and get, we'll act on that information. So then I went right home, and I provided confirmation from the transcription management office indicating that this information does exist. And then for months, the two initial officers ignored me. All my emails, all my calls, they never called, they never responded, nothing. Now, as soon as I come in, and she's trying to, we're the officers that, are in charge of this. And I said, well, if you're the officers in charge, why didn't you do anything all these months? Why did you just ignore me? Yeah. Right? So at any rate, she came in and she was trying to basically, she was saying that I said things that I didn't say, and they were taking words out of my context. And you can appreciate, I don't know if you've ever, about this book, but so sometimes you can't put into words what you see, right? Or what you hear. And this is why if there are audios and videos, and I told them there right in September, I said, instead of having me relive this, instead of having me try to describe things, and when I'm saying it to you, I'm saying things based on my memory, but it's not in the same context as the hearing, as the event, right? It's like yesterday. When I came in, I told you I spoke to Officer Pandey. I cannot describe that. If I show you a video of what he was doing, then you'll say, ooh, right? It'll be a completely different situation, right? So that's what I was trying to explain to them. So they were sitting there taking things out of context and everything I say. And I even told them when they came out and said, I said, you're taking all my words out of context. And in fact, when I spoke to their sergeant in January, February of this year, she confirmed that she said, number one, because what happened is because they did nothing, and I'll tell you, this has happened to me before with Peel Police where they actually go to the perpetrator and tell the perpetrator how to screw over the victim. And that's happened to me before, right? So what happened is they said nothing. Now, all of a sudden, I get an email sometime in January from TPS, and it's a detective without ever speaking to me saying that he has enough information to charge me with harassing the judge. So I said, well, wait a minute. You've never spoken to, and this is all done by email. I said, you've never spoken to me to hear my side, and you're already looking to charge me. But he's saying, because I'm busy, I'm not going to. And I said, well, please send me the disclosure of all the information you're saying you have, because I know I've done nothing, right? And then I said,
Do you have that officer's name?
Huh?
Do you have that officer's name?
Yeah, Officer Ward. I copied all of Peel Police because they had been doing nothing. Yeah. I copied them on it, and I basically spoke to Officer Ward, and I assume from everything I presumed that he was being biased, and it turned out he was. And I said to him, you've never, typically most police officers, if they're investigating something, they'll go and hear the other side. You've never contacted me other than automatically accusing me and assuming me to be guilty, right? So you've never heard my side. And I said, by the way, I reported this to Peel several months ago. They've been ignoring me. And then that's why and they were actually, TPS, they were ready to actually, once I told them the whole side and I said, listen, here's a letter from one of the women's support groups I've been getting support from for this situation. And they were actually compassionate, and they were actually going to send me to their sex crimes unit. But this, I had to let them know that this is already started with Peel, and Peel did nothing. So then they said, well, we'll have to refer you back to Peel because you started this with them months ago, and they did nothing. And like he was kind of in a way almost making fun of Peel, like, oh yeah, you're in real good, you're in real good care with Peel, because Peel's basically just left me hanging there, right? And so now Peel did nothing. This guy, without ever speaking to me, was ready to act on behalf of the judge, and I've explained to Peel, he's acting on behalf of the judge, so there's no way the judge wants these audio tapes released. Yeah. Because it's going to incriminate him, not only incriminate him, but the other part that they seem to have been ignoring, it's not just Justice McEwen. What happened is after Justice McEwen is basically the head of that department, all the judges work for him. So what happened is throughout the hearings after that, you'll hear a whole bunch of other judges that work for him and the lawyers involved in my case basically plotting and saying, every time I mentioned the sexual misconduct, they would sit there during the hearings and say, how do we silence her? How do we shut her up about the sexual misconduct? And they're saying, let's falsely label her vexatious, and therefore we shut her up, right? I did relay all of this to the Chief Justice of Canada, and they actually sent me an email, which I brought into Peel yesterday. And he said, this was from last week. And he says, I know you reported to Peel Police, but he said, police, you go back to the police and you tell them this is a criminal investigation. They should be and even the sergeant from 22 Division, Sarah Wood, she acknowledged right in our conversation, she said, you give us information, we're supposed to act on it to investigate. They've never acted on the information that I gave them. I gave them that right in September. I said there's actual audios and probably videos too, because everything was via Zoom. See, what happened is all the judges, because of COVID, none of them realized that the hearings were being recorded.
Oh, okay.
So what happened is they were just doing things, I guess, like how they normally would, where they felt they weren't being recorded, so they could do whatever. So he was coming on to you and basically, expecting, like he did it sort of, like a negative affirmative, where you're like, you don't really want me. You must be using me, like that kind of thing. And that's why I was trying to explain to those initial officers, I cannot adequately describe, because a lot of the things he was doing, like talking like a child, and like a lot of the things like that, where somebody's showing, expressing that they're attracted to you, and that they're expecting sex for their orders. A lot of that you can't. If I try to put it into words, like even yesterday's instance, if I try to put into words what Mr. Pandey did, I cannot, and that is why. Now, because I've seen the way a lot, like this experience has opened my eyes to how government organizations are. I'm taking a camera with me everywhere. I actually went out and bought some body cameras because I don't want to have to sit here and say, I got no proof because I trusted everybody, and now I can't adequately describe what happened. And then now I have police officers that are taking my words out of context and all this stuff. Like, by the time I told Ryan just even a couple words of what happened, he got it right away. And the same thing, by the time I told the Chief Justice of Canada what happened, they already said, and that's why I came in with an email. Mr. Pandey seemed to feel that he didn't have to respect the Chief Justice of Canada's email that says, you go back to the police and you tell them that this is a criminal investigation. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's why I just don't, all it is as soon as I came in person, and as soon as Ryan was willing to help me, they all of a sudden came in within a week and they tried to rush to close it down. They told me there's a report. What I requested everything. There's not a report. There's a whole bunch. There's a current little scribble notes, but that's not a report. So they lied to me because they assumed that the public doesn't know the difference between an occurrence or, like handwritten notes compared to an actual report. There has been no report. I requested it. I never got it. Yesterday after I left your station, I went over to 22 Division and I requested yet again because Mr. Pandey advised me that there's been stuff that has been happening, and apparently not yesterday but the day before it was opened back up again. Right? So I don't know. Again, nobody's told me. Nobody.
I'm telling you the last update that I read on this report.
Huh?
Okay. I've informed you of the last update that I read on the report, that based on what was said, there was insufficient grounds to proceed with an investigation.
Yeah, so
they did say that the investigation was closed pending any further information.
Yeah, so what I guess I actually have some recordings of the sergeant as well as the one of the original officers where they contradict themselves. They've never investigated it. They're okay. This is what they considered an investigation. They talked to me. Yeah. They may or may not have spoken to the judge because they kept wavering. Oh, because when I said, well, did somebody, because Ryan had already confirmed for me that yes, one of the officers, which I believe is 4683, did go out to see the judge. Mm-hmm. Then when I spoke to 4683, she was saying, well, I don't know whether someone did. Oh, maybe it was a supervisor. So they were just wavering. And my thing is, why are you keeping it a secret, right? And why aren't you telling me, like, what happened when you went out to see the judge? Like, all these months, all they've done is ignore me and then keep me in the dark. They've never done an investigation because there's actually, I put them on YouTube, right? I put the video, my conversations with the Staff Sergeant Sarah Wood, not Staff Sergeant, I guess Sergeant Sarah Wood, as well as Frangella, that officer. I put them on YouTube. And you can see they both contradict each other. Huh?
If you don't mind my asking, what were you hoping to accomplish by doing that?
Because it seems to me that when I was trying to handle, it seems to me that when I am trying to handle everything privately, it seems that to me that the police are just. It seems like it's almost like isolate and abuse because then the public doesn't know what's going on. As soon as you put things out there, all of a sudden, put it on Twitter and everything else, all of a sudden then people are being more careful to make sure that they're treating you properly. Like I was shocked when I left your station and went to 22 Division, they actually have special crime crisis people now in the station where they never did before. So that they said that it's to deal with people who are having, I guess, mental issues or sensitive issues, where they didn't have that before when I went in even a few months ago. So to me, that's a positive thing that's come out of this, where it wasn't there before, right? So so my thing is, I'm representative of Canadians that if they're being abused by police services, for instance, that are supposed to be serving and protecting the public, who have maybe forgotten that is their purpose, then, we need to get it out there because other than that, change doesn't happen. Like I was shocked. I was pleasantly shocked when I went into 22 Division. I spoke to two officers who refused to give out any information about a sergeant's, like who the staff sergeant or the sergeant is, and your division did the same thing, right? Again, I don't know why it would be a secret, because I think if I speak to you or even the gentleman who was there yesterday, you guys seem like you're reasonable, right? But at any rate, nothing was ever investigated because Sarah Wood admitted, she said all they did, their investigation was just they came out and they spoke to me. They told me that they were going to go see the judge. They've never told me why. The fact that I've told them already that there are audios and most likely videos that exist, and I've confirmed it for them. What Ryan told me on January 19th, before they rushed to try to close this investigation that never actually happened, he told me that apparently the officer, I believe it was 4683, she was saying that she was waiting for additional information from me. And that information would be confirmation, like written confirmation that these audios exist. I said, well, if she's waiting for that, then why all these months did she not respond to my calls or emails? And why would she at some point not have said, we're waiting for this? Like if she's never told me she's waiting for something, how would I know she's waiting for it? So then that's when Ryan said, listen, you go home, you send us that information, which I sent them the same night, and then they didn't act on anything. And then all it is no matter what you tell them, I even said to her, like, if you listen to the comment, I even said, listen, whatever you've, and you can actually see the Sergeant Sarah trying to put words in my mouth. So if I say, I've provided you confirmation of these audios, she's saying, oh, you've provided us the recordings of the audios? And I said, no, confirmation. And that is what they came out to do. I think they feel what their job is to invalidate women. Right? Everything you say, they just don't want to do an investigation. They just want to invalidate you so that way they don't have to investigate. And they have never done an investigation, and they know it.
I thought good grounds in that we shouldn't blanket statement all police. I thought we agreed the last time we spoke that, again, it's kind of unfair to say that all police do that.
No, but the experience that I've had of these policemen, other than Ryan and yourself, has been that, right? And it's like the majority, right? So you can appreciate, number one, first of all, you're already going through a hard enough time with what happened to you, right? With what these judges tried to do. Like, they're basically trying to falsely label me of being something that I'm not, right? The hearings prove, huh?
And what is that?
Well, what it is the lawyers were saying in order to cover up the sexual misconduct of Justice McEwen, to falsely label me vexatious, because that apparently prevents me the ability to now self-represent again, right? And that's all in the hearings. So you know how they say the cover-up is sometimes worse than the original crime? I don't know if you've ever heard of that saying.
No, I've never heard that.
I actually just recently heard it on the TV, but yeah, that's apparently what they say. Well, that's what it is, because what they've been doing is they're trying to falsely label me in order to cover up the sexual misconduct of Justice McEwen. Like, if I'm going into court, I do not have to give sex to a judge just to get my basic rights of disclosure. Like, that's what it was. I was just asking for disclosure. And you can appreciate, I went to civil court because my mother passed away, which is a hard enough thing. I had to run after my brothers who stole everything, right? And then, to have him lay all that on me, where now all I'm asking for is disclosure on my mom's estate assets. Like, just picture yourself, if one of your parents died, wouldn't you think that you have the right, and you do have the right to know about her assets or your dad's assets? And if somebody's trying to get sex, a judge of all things, out of the blue, he's coming out and he's telling you that he wants sex for his orders. And then the orders that were previously given to me, he starts reversing all those orders when I wouldn't respond to him. Right? And then all the judges, when you try to tell you're thinking to yourself, you're telling these judges what happened. And initially, I actually tried to protect the guy because I didn't want him to get in trouble. I just wanted to, but just give us the disclosure and let's move on. Like, if somebody's not interested in you, let it go. But he was, he was trying to force me, and I don't know, but I can't be attracted to somebody who's trying to force me.
Yeah, no, that's understood.
Right? So, I mean, they never investigated anything, and if you listen to the recordings, and I actually copied the Chief Justice of Canada as well as, the Attorney General of Ontario,
who was that you spoke to? Who's the Chief Justice?
Oh, David Lametti. Everybody's on Twitter, eh?
Yeah, and what's his title again? So he's the Chief Justice of Ontario?
No, he's the Chief Justice of Canada.
Okay, Chief Justice of Canada.
And he has another title too, but I didn't.
His name is David Lametti.
Yeah, David Lametti.
How do you spell Lametti?
Capital L-A. M as in Mary.
Yeah.
E.
Yeah.
T-T.
Yeah.
I. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and then he's also told me to have this at, like, Doug Ford, because I actually contacted the Premier's office. Doug Ford had initially said, that because initially before they even started with their vexatious label, as soon as I got wind of what they were doing, because they would be so abusive that right in the hearings, they would be saying it right in front of me. What are we going to do to her? And you know what I mean? And it was, you're sitting and you have to take this, right? And it's like, for what? Because I didn't sleep with this judge?
Yeah.
Like that's not right. I shouldn't have to sleep with the judge to get my basic rights. Right? And it's all recorded. So why has the police been basically, first of all, they avoided my calls, and what happened is that sergeant, she lied and said, oh no, I've seen correspondence between the two of you, which is funny because the day before, the actual officer said, oh, I don't receive emails. If she's never received an email, how the heck would she have been corresponding? So it's, they completely lied. And all they've been trying to do is, I feel that it's because it's a judge, they're just trying to shut this thing down. Like, come on, you guys saw it happen with police services, the military. No woman should have to give sex and put up with, some judge who, like he actually blasted me and abused me just because I would not respond to him. He tried every which way for me to tell him how I felt, and it was just weird. Like, I just froze and I just was silent because I didn't know how to react. And then he yelled and screamed at me in front of everybody because I wouldn't give in to him. Like that's, and then, like I said, at that time, the judges were not, like, you'll hear another judge later saying, apparently these hearings are being, so they didn't, what happened is they didn't realize the hearings were being recorded.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so that's why they were speaking openly, and then what happened is, eventually, they just sort of figured that you can't get a copy of the hearings of the audios. And right now, what they tried to do is to deny me access of the audios, and then they want to redact the transcripts. So obviously, there's a conflict of interest there, right? So in any case, so I've just been trying to get some assistance, and I didn't deserve to have these officers do what they did, and that's why I'm recording everything, because unfortunately I've met up with, like, at least you're different, Ryan's different, but unfortunately every time you guys go and talk in the back with Officer Frangella and probably Sarah Wood, for whatever reason they're just trying to shut this thing without doing a proper investigation. They never did an investigation. And Sarah Wood, in my conversations that I recorded with her, she actually admitted, she said, if you provide us information, we're supposed to act on it. And I said, yeah. So I provided you confirmation that, that these audios, and like I said, most likely videos exist. So why aren't you acting on it? Why aren't you getting the production order? I have recordings with Officer Daryl Chan as well as Ryan White, who acknowledged that they're supposed to go and get a production order. They've never done anything. When I left Officer Sergeant Wood, she said that because what happened is in June, I think it was June 24th, I was outside watering my plant at 10:30 at night, and I saw him drive up in a white van. Your two officers, sorry, not your two officers, but the original two officers, they said that they were going to investigate that. They never investigated that. Even TPS said they should have been investigating that. At this point, like, they should be going to ask, anybody has any dash cam, anybody has, cameras outside their house. At this point, anything that might have been there would have been overwritten already because they never actioned that. So she confirmed for me, I think January, February, she confirmed that she was going to, have them follow up on this white van thing. They've never done that. She was going to follow up on what happened, who went to see Justice McEwen, and what happened there. Also, because they did nothing and TPS was acting on what the judge told them, apparently there was a joint investigation between TPS and Peel. She was going to give me a status of that. She's not done that, right? And I have her recorded saying she was going to do it. She never did it. Then the other thing is, she was going to follow up on what's been done with regards to this production order to get the audios. Again, nothing. All it is, oh, well, we, as an excuse, we don't think it's a crime. Yeah, because they basically put their own wording there and misquoted me. Right, and you can see both conversations, especially the one with Sergeant Wood. You can see her trying to misinterpret what I'm saying. So if I say, I've provided you confirmation that these audios exist, she'll change it and she'll say, oh, you've provided us the copies of the audios? And I said, that's not what I said. So, and that's what these two officers came out doing, and that's what she did. So I don't know if their whole tact is to invalidate women who report these things so that way they don't have to do anything. Or I don't know if it's because it's a judge. I just know that they never investigated it, and it should be investigated. Like, it only costs, and I'm willing to pay it, it only costs $12 to get the audios. It's not like it costs a lot of money, right?
Where do you get the audio from?
From the transcription management office.
From where, sorry?
There's what's called a transcription management office.
Okay.
They have all the audios.
Yeah.
So all you do is if the judges are not willing to give them to you, apparently you go to a JP, a Justice of the Peace, and get an order to get these audios, and then the transcription management office will, they email them to you.
Oh. And you haven't done that as of yet?
No, when I did try to order them, the judges are denying me access to the audios, and then they want to redact the transcripts.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of what it is I can do for you now moving forward.
Yeah, so they never acted, and then what happened is one of the original officers, she's claiming, which is contrary to even the edited body cam footage that they did send me, she's claiming that I never told her that the judge wanted sex for his orders. Yet even on the edited body cam information, I say right in there. And even on the conversation that I had with her back on January 26th or 27th, right in there, I've said to her several times.
That's what's on your recordings?
That's what's on my recordings. Yeah, I had a telephone call with her, and I actually have another I have another conversation when I went into the station where she lied about all that, and I told her very clearly. I said, I don't know why you're taking my words out of context and twisting them to say what you want them to say, but this is what I'm telling you. This is what I told you back then, and even if you didn't understand that back then, I'm updating it. And why is it as soon as I relayed not even a fraction of what I relayed to them to the other officer, Ryan White, he got it right away. Right away, he was willing, he got on the phone with the supervisor, he got on the phone with her, and, like I said, he said, send me confirmation that these audios exist, and we'll go and investigate it, right? We're going to do a proper investigation right now.
Were you able to send that to him?
I sent it to him the same night, the same January 19th, and then within a couple of days, I think when they came back into the shift, which I believe was January 26th, one of the original officers, when I came in on that day to speak to Ryan White to say, okay, have you gotten the stuff? I sent it to you. She interjected in our conversation. She says, well, I'm the officer that's in charge of this. And I said, well, if you felt that way, then why all these months did you ignore me and do nothing? And now I've sent you additional information. And she says, I don't get emails. I'm like, you don't get emails, then how come the week before you actually got the email that I copied you guys on from TPS?
Yeah.
So, she just lied through her teeth. And like I said, you can appreciate, and I'm not lumping all police officers, but you can appreciate, based on the experience I've had, what would you, what would you think, would be appropriate for me to feel based on what I've experienced? And then I finally had an office.
I want to thank you, though, for, and I'm not being cheeky, although it'll sound like I'm being cheeky. I want to thank you for acknowledging that not all officers are the same.
No, but no, because Ryan wasn't.
Do that.
No, because Ryan White wasn't either, right? He was willing to help me, but they shut him down. And when he came out to see me, we met in a public place, and I had my body cam on. He had his body cam on, and I said, okay, we're recording each other so that way I don't have to deal with somebody editing out their videos, because I have my own too. And he was fine with it, right? And he told me, he said he heard my story. And he actually said, okay, based on everything you've told me, probably even today you'll get an email and a proper investigation will be done. He told me, he said, it's not me. And I said, I know it's not you. So it's somebody else who I believe it's one of the originating officers, which is 4683, Frangala. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's that they don't want to do any work or if I'm a colored person. I don't know. But, for whatever reason, she just seems to like intimidating me. And all she does every single time I go in there, she wants me to relive the same thing again. And all she's trying to do is invalidate me. Her job is not to invalidate me. Her job is to, you know what, you've provided information. Let's go act on it. And, let's get this investigation done. Right? I know what the audios say, right? Because I was there. And I said to her, even in September, I said to those two officers, I said, why are you guys having me relive all this stuff when there's audios available? Right? It's stressful for a woman to have to relive all the stuff, like all this abuse that she's gone through.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason for it. Right? They should have just done an investigation. And then, can you tell me, is that kind of them to leave me in the dark? Actually, when I went in to see your officer yesterday, yeah. he once again, Mr. Pandey once again confirmed that somebody did go out to see the judge. So why am I not being told who went out to see him and what happened? What is the secret? Why would you keep the victim in the dark?
Yeah, I don't know. But like I said, and I know this might upset you, and I don't want to frustrate you or get you upset with me, based on what I've seen on that initial report, they're saying that there's insufficient evidence to believe that a criminal act has occurred.
Yeah, so again, that's because they've been taking everything I said out of context. And and even when in January I provided additional information, they didn't bother to act on it. She's
making a complaint with OCOPS?
Sorry?
There's another avenue in which you can maybe make a complaint against the police. Have you considered that? It's called OCOPS.
OIPRD?
No. Well, yes, actually, it is that. Yes.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I know Officer Carl Lane, who works in that division.
My old partner.
Yeah, well, you're not going to like what I have to say. I thought he was a nice guy because, again, years ago when I had a situation with landlord and tenant, I had the police officer that was sitting in my driveway, or rather standing in my driveway, telling my tenants, like literally advising my tenants how to screw me over. Right? And so I had made a complaint, and so I got to meet Officer Lane. Now, at that time, just to get it over with, I just signed his form, and, I thought he was a good guy. So he had left me his number and said, anytime you have an issue, give me a call. So when I had this issue, I gave him a call, and to my surprise, he sat there and he was trying to, he was just saying, oh, well, if you send something to OIPRD, it's going to come to me, and I'm just going to make up this excuse and that excuse. And I recorded him too, right? And so what I'm seeing happening is when you come into the police, the first thing they do, like your policeman, Mr. Pandey, and the first thing he did was here's the OIPRD. Yeah, because you're going to get somebody like Carl Lane who will sit there and make up some excuse that, in other words, they're supposed to be there to protect the public against policemen that are doing incorrect things. Instead, they're protecting the policemen, right? And basically promulgating so that this kind of stuff, this kind of corruption goes on. Right? So that was actually one of the videos I was going to post next, right, in the next little bit. But I have a few others, because the problem is, and the only reason I'm posting them is I think the public needs to know. And in fact, the public has already known, but everybody is verifying that this stuff is going on and it should not. Those organizations, the OIPRD, they're supposed to be there to protect the public. They're not supposed to be there, they're supposed to be policing the police, essentially, right? And they're not doing it. What they're doing is they're making up excuses for the police so that nobody actually gets their stuff investigated.
I'm sorry to hear you feel that way.
Yeah, well, like I said, I was shocked because I thought I called him and I even copied him on the TPS email. Because I thought that, I thought that he really meant it when years before he said, if you have an issue, just, contact me and I'll try to help out. But instead, he even told me, and I have it recorded, where he said that he was going to go over to the officer, Ryan White, who's the only officer that was willing to help me to get this investigated, and tell him not to help me. And all of a sudden, Mr. White, he wasn't going to help me anymore. And Mr. White even told me at the last time I met with him, when he came out and he said he was going to investigate the white van, which they again never did. He told me, he said, it's not me. He told me, and I videoed him because I had on my body cam just like he had on his body cam, right? This needs to be investigated. And to just take those initial two officers' word, number one, they misconstrued everything because they took everything out of context and they just, decided what they wanted, but they didn't actually, And when they left here, they did say that they were going to go speak to the policeman and they were supposed to follow up on this white van. They did none of that. All they did was ignore me for months. And then as soon as I came in person, they rushed to try and close the investigation, which I've already confirmed. If you go onto YouTube, there's an interview with Sarah Wood, and she completely lies.
Where on YouTube?
Oh, if you look at my channel, unfortunately, if you have an email, I can give you links to them, right? And both interviews. And I actually took both interviews, and a specific part where Sarah Wood says that how, I've seen correspondence between you and these officers, so don't say they never responded to you. And then I just took that little clip, and I took the clip from specific to that part of the interview. I put the entire interviews on first in separate videos, and then I put the two clips back to back with her saying that she's seen correspondence, and with the officer themselves saying that, I've never received any emails. I don't get emails,
You also have cleaning tips on here.
Huh?
You also have tips for cleaning.
Yeah, I know. Well, because I'm actually a realtor, but in this situation, I guess the way I look at it is, first of all, I've participated in group therapies with a lot of women who have experienced organizations that are supposed to be helping you that are not. Other Canadians that have been falsely accused with this whole vexatious thing to basically take away their rights to actually have a hearing. I feel very strongly that this is something that, people need to know about, because people, until you get in a situation that I didn't even know something like this can exist. I just figured you go in, you present your case, and it gets judged on its merits, right? I didn't even know that they can just, it's like years ago when a woman was strong or so, they might just say, oh, she's a witch. If she's a witch, we got to burn her in the stake. It's kind of like bringing back those kind of archaic days, right? So I've just gone on there and I've just, presented based on my experience, and I've been doing a lot of reading and research on the challenges that self-represented people are getting, as well as women are getting, and I've been putting there as an education, right, based on my experience and research, because I've been doing a lot of reading on it. So it's not really necessarily to to blast anyone, but it's to educate people, because people need to know that this stuff, and there's actually a lot of people, following me, especially on my others. I'm new to YouTube, and I've had a Twitter account and both, but I haven't really been as active. But some of the other sources where, I'm just getting the word out, and people are really following and, really appreciating it, right? I even have people saying that they have a similar situation. Can I help them, right? And I've just been saying, here's some resources, because I can't give them advice. I'm not a lawyer, right?
Yeah, no, good for you.
But it's to help. And I feel like even police services, before, Peel Police never had, a crisis crime. I know I have these people. I went into 22 Division, and they have this big thing, crises. So then I asked them about it, and they're like, "This. It looks like it's a new thing because they didn't have it a few months ago." So that's a positive thing.
Yeah. Right?
That's a positive thing. And even yourself, look how nice you're talking to me. I mean, like I said, it's unfortunate. I went in, and the two officers that I dealt with yesterday, my God. And I like I said, your sergeant seemed like a nice guy, because he seemed like he was trying to help until they shut him down.
Yeah, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah, so again, this thing needs to be investigated, because the problem is it was never investigated. And that's why, it's not that I'm trying to be facetious, but it's that I think these, I went into the appeals court,
yeah,
and I put the video on there, and that lady tried to abuse me. I was sitting there calmly going, I'm just trying to file my appeal of this false label.
Where are you located, Mahini?
Huh?
Where are you located?
Oh,
if I were to send officers to come and speak to you to try and get further information from you about this, where would I send them?
Oh, I'm in Brampton, but I'd like to meet them in a public place, if that's okay.
Oh, okay. I don't know how I'm going to be able to arrange that, because I kind of need to know what area you're in.
Oh, Brampton.
Whether well, you would agree with me that Brampton is somewhat of a large city.
Oh.
Our Brampton area is divided into an east and west. And we have 22 Division to the west, and we have 21 Division, who you're speaking to the east. Now, if you fall within the parameters of 22 Division, then it would best be for me to get officers from the 22 Division area to meet with you and discuss your issue with you, and obviously review your evidence that you have of some wrongdoing. And if you're in the area of the 21 Division area, I get officers from my team to come and speak with you.
Well, I'm at Williams Parkway and Main Street.
So that's 22 Division.
Yeah, the only thing is, like I said, because of the bad experience that I've had with, officers in that division, I would rather not, even to, because of what they haven't done so far, right? I don't want to, I don't want to be playing games, and I'm very straightforward. If I see things that I like, I'll say that. If I see things that are bad, I'll say it, right? It's not meant to.
The only way to be.
Huh?
That's the only way we should be.
Yeah, you just got to be straightforward and stuff. And I don't want people taking my words out of context and doing all this stuff that they were doing. And look, it's been 6-7 months already. And I'm sitting, yesterday when I came in, at least the one thing Mr. Pandey did was he finally, once again, confirmed that somebody did go out to see the judge, but nobody's ever told me what happened, right?
You seem pretty handy with the internet. You know how to get onto social media and such. Have you done a Google search to see how you can complain about a justice or a judge?
Yeah, actually, that's what the Chief Justice of Canada also said. I went to the Canadian Judicial Council, and it seems to me nobody wants to release these audios because they know what the audios say. So what they did is they tried to shut it down last year. And what I did was I recorded a video of myself summarizing what's happened to me, where they falsely labeled me before they falsely labeled me, right? And I posted that on social media, and that's, regularly I'm putting that out on the different social platforms so that people are understanding what's happening. When I did that, they reopened the case, and then they tried to shut it down, only basing it on information I gave them. Well, what happens with the audios is like the police and the Canadian Judicial Council have the ability to go and get an order to get the audios, right? What it is and again, don't take this the wrong way, but it's just based on my experience. Mm-hmm. As I said to you, these OIPRD, they're supposed to be, their function is to protect the public against policemen that are doing wrongdoing, right? And the CJC, it's the same thing. If a judge is doing unethical things, they're supposed to go and investigate them. So she tries to shut it down in the same way that those initial officers tried to shut it down, where they don't want to get the audios. So I actually took a picture of her email. And I said, notice she only based shutting it down the second time on the information that she received from me. Well, I wouldn't have a copy of the hearings, right? Because they've denied me access to getting the audios, right?
Okay.
So anyways, I put that out, and then I copied the Chief Justice of Canada, as well as the Attorney General of Ontario and Doug Ford and Justin Trudeau. And then that's when I got the email finally from the Chief Justice of Canada saying that I'm to go back to the police, get them to do a proper investigation, go back to CJC, say, according to these acts, the Judges Act, and they quoted them, you're going to have to do a proper investigation, which means, that's another avenue that I have to go to, because the CJC investigates the judge, the police investigates the criminal activity, and the Law Society investigates the lawyers. And then there was one, and then the Attorney General of Ontario, which is a gentleman by the name of Doug Downey. Yeah. They've told me that he is going to have to investigate this entire situation as to what's transpired. So I thought that was very positive that, I'm getting the Chief Justice of Canada. Huh?
I asked, have you been able to get in touch with Mr. Downey?
No, I haven't, because they just sent me that late last week.
Okay.
And I have a couple of health conditions where, like, right now, my entire left leg. One of the health conditions is my entire, like, with all the stress, I've basically literally I can be at the computer for like 12, 14 hours a day, just dealing with this, and then I have my work to do, right? Where I'm not used to being so inactive, so my whole left leg is swollen, so I can't even sit at a computer or even stand. So the first thing I thought is, okay, I took a few days, and then, with all the stress, you can imagine. So I took a few days, and then the first thing was, okay, let me go and speak to the police and get them to do a proper investigation. And then one by one because when I go back to the CJC or even Doug Downey, I have to write up a proper email, with all the right information in it. And it takes time, and you know what I mean? Like it takes time. I can't just do it in a flash, right?
Yeah.
Because, and say, okay, this is why it should be investigated, and here's an email from, saying that I should be going back to you to get, because Doug Ford, before all of this, back in September, Doug Ford had asked Doug Downey to investigate it, and for whatever reason, he never actually investigated it. And that's why the Chief Justice of Canada is saying, no, you go back to him. He's supposed to have investigated it. So, my challenge is that and it seems that nobody actually, because nobody wants to go and get these audios that would very simply prove everything, right? And instead, they're putting me through like when you hear the stories of the military women and the police women, they went through the same challenges where nobody wants to help them, and they're fighting like heck just to get people to stand up for them, because no woman should have to sleep with the judge to get their basic rights.
Correct.
Like the guy's just giving me disclosures.
Mahini, if I were able to get officers to give you a call and meet you, would you be agreeable to that?
That would be awesome if you could do that.
Okay, I will do my best to do that. I'll follow up with you a little later. I'm going to see if there's officers that are available to get in touch with you, and then I'll let you know that they'll get in touch with you, and then you can make arrangements to meet with them.
Are they going to be from your division?
Well, that's what you told me your preference would be.
Yes, please.
Again, understand that I have to deal with matters in my area.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know, I can't put a definitive timeline on when I'm going to get someone to get in touch with you.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, I think you're awesome, and I can't thank you enough.
You're welcome. I'm just doing my job, Mahini.
You know, I can't, I just can't even express how thankful I am.
No bother at all. I know you appreciate it.
All right. And again, I don't think all police officers are bad. Unfortunately, I've had some really bad ones.
I understand, and I appreciate you acknowledging that. That means a lot to me.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being you. And I guess, so you don't know when you'll be able to get back to me then, eh?
I just want to make a promise to you that I cannot keep.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. So, you said the police officers will call me?
I'm hoping that I could get someone to call you within the next little bit, yeah.
Okay, like a couple days maybe?
Within a couple of days, hopefully within an hour or two.
Okay, well that's amazing. Thank you so much, eh?
You're welcome, Mahini. You take care of yourself, okay?
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Hello? Oh, boy.